Hello, fiber friends. If you enjoy spinning yarn with one of these so-called Mayan spinners, then continue to do that. Have fun, enjoy yourself, spin some yarn. Even though they're not for spinning yarn, and also probably not Mayan. So I'm sorry if that ruins it for anybody, but we need to talk about this tool. As soon as this started, I guess, trending or making waves or however you want to say that in the fiber arts community, so many people started tagging me and reaching out and asking if I had ever tried to spin yarn and if I had a tutorial about it and all that stuff. So I think that we should start from the community, and I will attempt to spin yarn with this so that you can understand what the whole beginning of my awareness of this tool was. And then I'm going to talk about my historical research, because this is an older tool than you might realize, and likely it came from a different location than the Americas. So let's talk about it after we spin some yarn, because you know, spinning is the fun part. So what exactly is this tool? It's pretty simple. We have basically a stick or dowel with a knob on the end of it, and then we have a paddle with a hole in it. We put the paddle on the stick, and then because this is unbalanced, it has more weight on this side, which helps when you fling it around to keep it turning. And this is going, that's probably really loud on the audio, sorry. By flinging this around, we are going to provide twist to our fibers. But here's a question. When we are spinning, we are taking short fibers and with twist, making them into longer strands that are stronger than they would be on their own, which means that as we are continuing to add more fibers and add more twist, we have to put the stuff that's already twisted somewhere. And so we are going to wrap it onto the paddle and then keep spinning. So let's attempt to do that. And I'm going to use a leader for this one. I didn't tie this on here. I just sort of wrapped over the end, and it's being held on by its own friction. So I'm wrapping this around and around and around to give us a good start. And it kind of overlaps a little. Now I've got my little tail. I saw someone use one of these a while ago, but I did not bookmark it or figure it out, but I'll figure it out right now. So anyway, I'm saying I don't remember the tutorial I saw, but there's kind of only a certain way this is going to actually function that makes any sense. So we're going to try it like that. So this has a little notch here. The trouble is going to be getting our stored yarn to our working yarn. And so we're going to bring our working yarn over here. And that's why this notch is here, to bring that under there. And then we can bring this around, right? And then if we spin that around, we are getting twist. Aha, so that works. Let's add fiber and do a little drafting and spinning. I don't know what kind of wool this is. This was like mill ends that I got. Someone dyed them, kettle dyed them, and I think they're pretty. So I'm playing around with it. It's my like test stuff. You know, this could work better with a half hitch because it is slipping out of these little notches, and that way it's not going to slide up and down. So what I'm going to do to join this is just put a bunch of twist in here and then hold on to the twist, and then I'll put it on top of this and pull it, and it's going to grab onto these fibers, and then I don't have to worry about doing any kind of a complicated join or anything like that. Ooh, I do have to hold on to it though. Can't just let go. All right, let's try that again. Here we go. That's pretty energized. It's pretty twisty. So I'm just gonna take my fluff here and put my energized yarn on top of my fluff. As long as it's touching in a bunch of places, it's gonna pick up my fluff from somewhere, right? So if I just kind of pull on this, that works. Now we're joined. Easy peasy. All right. Now, to keep it going though, this is kind of a blob where the join happened. All right. To keep it going, we're going to have to add more twists. So let's keep doing that. Oh, is that the way I want to go? It's not. Oh dear. Oh, Cece. Kitten, you brought your lemon. It's your lemon. There you go. Go play with Mark. I am momentarily interrupting this video to tell you all about this very important emotional support lemon. Our cat Cece has a lemon that she brings when she wants to play or when she's lonely, and we have occasionally found her curled up asleep with it. But she'll pick it up and carry it around the house when she wants our attention. She'll like walk into the room and she'll meow and drop the lemon in front of us, and that's how we know she wants to play. So I crocheted it. It's just stuffed with wool and maybe a little catnip, but she loves this thing. It's disgusting now. It's picking up every fuzz on the ground. It's like, I don't know, analog Roomba or something, but this is the emotional support lemon, and I just wanted you to all know that my cat has an emotional support lemon. Back to our originally scheduled programming. When I'm orienting myself to spinning, I look at the thing that's turning. So if I'm spinning with a spindle, I look down at the whirl, and the direction the whirl is turning tells me the direction that it's going to add twist to my yarn. So like if I'm looking down and the whirl is turning in a clockwise direction, I know that I'm going to be getting Z twist, and if it's turning in a counterclockwise direction, I know I'm going to be getting S twist. Same thing if I'm at a spinning wheel, I look at the drive wheel. However, if I hold this like this and I turn it clockwise like this to my orientation, you can see because you're on the other side of it where the yarn actually is. While this is clockwise for me on this end, that is not clockwise for you on that end. So I have to remember to look at it from the yarn's perspective because the yarn is the only thing that matters. Let's try again. I'm going to add clockwise twist, so Z twist, which is typically the direction I spin my singles. We're going to add a bunch of twist, a bunch of twist, a bunch of twist. That's probably good. And then I'm going to put it on top of my hole, and I'll let it untwist and grab the hole. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah. It's twisting. We got it. Oh, I'm going the wrong way again because I looked at it from the back. Oh my gosh. Don't panic. I didn't put any tension on it. I don't think I lost it. All right. There we go. There we go. Okay. No, it's almost lost. I'm just going to tie it. I'm just going to tie, which you are always allowed to do, by the way. Just get a little twist in there and tie it to your leader, whatever works. Okay, let's try this again. Now, I know if I hold it closer to the end, I'm going to get better leverage rather than holding it up close, which is kind of what I tend to want to do because I feel like my hand being closer to it controls it. But we want the leverage of the turning from, you know, that distance. So I'm going to pull it. We'll see it's tipping like this now. There, that's better than putting it in my mouth. It's got lipstick on it now, which, you know, that's fine. I always end up with fiber in my lipstick, so turnabout is fair play. All right. And then, now that we have a whole bunch of twists in our little length of yarn here, I am going to bring it back to the paddle side, and then I will wrap it around that side. So this is going to be easier now because we're no longer relying on the leader. Now we are getting to the yarn that we have actually made. Part of the problem here is that this wool is not prepped in a way that makes a lot of sense for one-handed drafting. So let me just card this real quick and I'll be right back. Now it's a bat, and this is going to be much easier to draft with one hand. Clockwise. It's still hard to pull against the paddle because it dances back at me. All right, so let's undo this here and then keep winding. This is a slub. I'm ignoring it because I'm ignoring it. And then, right, we come back here. Let's just go around like that and then going the right direction. That's promising. It does feel a little more like long dry, I guess. Stretching, like I'm adding a bunch of twist to it and then I'm stretching it out. So the twist is moving around. I do have these little slubby spots, but to fix that, I would add more twist and then keep stretch, 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 and let that twist get in those slubby spots. But this is about what we're doing. So that's okay. I'm going to wind it back on like that. So here's my yarn. It's pretty chunky, pretty slubby, pretty fuzzy. I mean, that could be beautiful and perfect depending on your pattern. Where I'm at as a spinner, yes, I could do this and entertain myself with it. I guess it feels more like a fidget spinner to me than a spinning tool, if that makes sense. Because when I'm spinning, I tend to want to be efficient and make larger quantities of yarn for whatever thing I'm going to do with the yarn. And I can't imagine that this would get easier the more you have a big bundle of yarn on here. And the thing that really concerns me about it is if I did get to a point where I had a big bundle of yarn on here, there's nothing stopping it from flinging off the end with its centrifugal force. And that concerns me because nobody wants to have energized, uncontrolled yarn flinging off into wherever it ends up. That could be a mess. So there are several reasons why I feel like this is not an efficient spinning tool for spinning yarn. However, as soon as I saw it, honestly, I was like, oh, that makes sense if you're twisting something, but not like containing what you twist. So what are the situations where we need to add twist to something, but we don't need to hold that on the tool, right? Like it's just the length that we twist. Aha, you guessed it, rope. So I went down a rabbit hole of internet research and I started looking for this tool and I thought, if in the spinning community we're calling it a Mayan spinner, whenever I search Mayan spinner, I'm getting spinning community results. And it's like the way that internet search results, especially the ones that are being returned to us by AI, they can't think critically and they can't make those connections between what you might mean unless enough people figure out that the other answer is the thing you probably mean because it's aggregating on probabilities and averages. Anyway, I won't get into that, but I'm just saying this was a very good demonstration of echo chamber. And so every time I looked up Mayan spinner, I was getting results from people who were spinning yarn with this. And so I needed to figure out how to find other terms for it, which I was able to do. Additional names for this type of tool are, ready? Mayan spinner, rake straw spinner, rope spinner, twister, rope twister, hair twister, twisting paddle, whirligig, terabia, terabay, terabee, terabe, teravia, teravia, teravita, torrenteral, or tornieral. Tornieral? I did my best. This tool is most often just called a rope spinner because it's used to spin rope, and English rope makers just aren't clever with names. I thought this was a hilarious quote. I had to include it. This is why it's so hard to look up. That quote is important because in English, and I speak English, and my search terms are English, if I look up Mayan spinner, I get results from the yarn spinning community, and if I look up rope spinner, the SEO on that is terrible. Terrible. Once I found the term terabia, I was like, okay, we've got a Spanish term. Let's search in Spanish. And sure enough, I found a video on Facebook, and I am going to show the briefest of clips here.
Lo que no lo hacíamos para atrás regañar, porque todavía nos churupa.
¿Esa es la tarabía?
Sí, churupea, pues, y luego mi papá nos daba un palo, un peñascazo, para que aprendiéramos a hacerlo para atrás, porque tenemos que dar un paso para atrás, porque mi papá está sacando el hilo y le estaba dando, pues, y nosotros estamos torciendo, así.
I don't know a ton about horses or horse tack, so I am going to let my horse friends, are you horses? My horse riding friends, talk about that, discuss it amongst yourselves in the comments to tell us all about the different ways that these tools could be used to make tack for cinches and other things. It makes a lot of sense that you have this tool that would be, collapsible, so it's very portable. You can stick that, easily into a pocket somewhere out of the way, and then if you need it, you can use, the horsehair to make rope. That makes a lot of sense to me. I also wanted to talk about the whole idea of Mayan in regards to this tool. I was unable to find the original source of where Mayan as a descriptor came into play for this, but I do want to mention that in the spinning community and a lot of other craft and niche communities, especially for English speaking crafters, we have a tendency to put cultural terms onto our spinning terms. I don't know if that has something to do with putting, an other culture into a connection with that to make it seem somehow more authentic, which can become problematic quickly. Because what happens if we're putting a term onto something, onto a tool, and it's not actually part of that culture? Anyway, we could do a whole other side quest on that, but I'm not going to go too far into that today. I did want to mention it though, because I know that there are still a lot of weavers who are from that part of the world, who are descendants of Mayan people, who have had their work, their traditional motifs and designs culturally appropriated by large corporations that will come in and take the design and then sell it and make tons and tons of money on it. And meanwhile, the people who are keeping their cultural heritage alive see none of the profits or proceeds from what is their heritage. And so I think that's just something to be really aware of and really careful of. I know there are people who are going to say, oh, that's just woke stuff and I'm going to call it what I want to call it and that's what I learned it as. And you can do that. You can go about the world that way. I choose to do it differently and to be a little bit more sensitive, especially when I am from a culture that is the culture that takes stuff to exploit. I just personally, that's important to me to be aware of and careful of. So I'm assuming if you've been here through all of that, you're the real ones, as they say on the internet. And I want to really put a caveat on this because I don't go around looking for truly historical spindle whorls. I think there's a danger in purchasing antiquities. However, if I come across things that have no provenance, they've already been, you know, removed from their context, then occasionally I will sometimes make that purchase, but I really don't want to encourage people to go out and do that because there are just so many ethical implications and issues with that kind of wheeling and dealing. And also, I do want to mention that it leads to fakes. And so these whorls that I have are supposedly pre-Columbian, and I purchased them from a person who does beads and sells beads. A whole other rabbit hole. Oh my gosh, friends, like let's not go into beads. We've already got a lot of conversations in the comments about this, I am sure. But these whorls, I feel like possibly could be new and made to appear old and then maybe buried in the ground for a year and then redug up and then sold as something pre-Columbian. And I think that because of the way the clay around the hole is not chipped away. If you see the ones that are authenticated and have their provenance and you find them in museums, there's a lot of chipping away around the hole, which is one of the ways that archaeologists determined that it probably was a spindle whorl, because if it's removable from the stick and you're putting the stick in and out of it, you're gonna scratch it up. You're gonna chip off a little bit of clay. You're gonna make marks there. And these don't have that. So I kind of wonder, and this is why I made this purchase, if these are being made as authentic reproductions to sell to bead sellers. I don't know. So I'm not going to tell you where I got these from. Here they are, and I'm going to tip the camera so you can get a good look at them. So these are apparently pre-Columbian spindle whorls. And I just wonder about their actual age. But again, there was no provenance on these. There's no documentation to where they were found or discovered or what have you, so I am not sure. This looks like terracotta. I'm not sure if they are authentic or if they are reproductions meant to look used and old. But I just, some of them, just the way that the hole is not used looking. It looks like a stick was poked through it to shape the clay, but then it was never actually used. So I don't know. But again, this is definitely getting into some ethically treacherous territory. So I am not advocating for people to go seek out tools or pieces like this. As a teacher, I don't know, maybe I'm justifying it and I should not have. But, once they are removed from the documentation of where they were found, what was near them with them when they were found, they kind of become not valuable for study. And so to me, whether these are real or not, to me, I, as a spinner, will treat any whorl that comes into my possession with love and care and respect for the tool that it is that has shaped humanity and civilization for millennia. So I am going to show you what this would look like for spinning. We take a stick and we put the spindle whorl on the spindle stick, and now we can spin. Did you guess what fiber people would have been spinning in that part of the world way back when? Cotton. It's cotton. When Columbus figured out that America exists, part of why he was making a connection with India is because he landed and saw cotton plants, because cotton was growing in the Americas independent of what was growing in Asia and in Africa. and people were already using it. And the other kinds of fibers that people probably would have been using would be plant fibers like yucca and other plant long, strong fibers that would be great to use for rope. But this makes sense for cotton because you all saw me struggling with wool. There's no way that I would attempt to spin cotton with this tool, even for funsies, because I would not have any funsies attempting to spin cotton with this tool. However, spinning cotton with this tool, sure. It gives enough twist to put into a short stapled fiber to hold up in yarn that could then be used for weaving, which is what would have happened to the cotton. So friends, you should not go and buy uh, antique or, ancient tools. Go to museums or go to people who specifically curate collections for educational purposes, which is where I put myself in that category. Friends, I am looking forward to discussing this whole conversation in all of its different ways and nuance and angles in the comment section with you. So let's keep it, you know, civil down there. I think this could be a conversation that goes off the rails. We don't want that. I will be watching the comments. So let's remember to treat each other respectfully and understand that not everybody has the same level of understanding or is coming from the same background or background information or knowledge. And with that, I will wish you all happy spinning.